Hello everyone, and welcome to The Good, The Bad, and The Could Be. With the last episodic Skywalker Star Wars movie scheduled to release this year, I thought well to start my series with one of the biggest movie franchises of all time. After seeing how much Star Wars Episode 8 divided the Star Wars fanbase, I've decided to go back to where it all started and see if the accusation brought forth were justified, or if it was simply continuing a trend established prior by the other major features. Episode 8 was praised for exploring interesting themes, subverting expectations, and its magnificent visuals. It was also criticized, however, for its writing flaws, lack of payoff, and the changes it brought to the pre-established Star Wars mythos, amongst many other things. But was it really Episode 8 that was as bad as claimed, or is it that the viewers and the fans outgrew that kind of storytelling? Or is it that the new generation of Star Wars movies are coming out with a fully matured Star Wars expanded universe at an age where the internet is fully inclined at fueling harsh criticism? It goes without saying that Star Wars is a cultural phenomenon. For decades now, it has pulled fans from all over the world to marvel at the clash of lightsabers, impressive visuals, and its story of good versus evil on a galactic scale. The iconic moments compiling over the years, leaving behind a legion of devoted fans always looking forward to the next chapter in the saga. Or almost. So today let's take a look at where it all started, analyzing the good, the bad, and what could be of the first Star Wars film, and find out if that cinematic classic was as great as we remember, or if nostalgia has a way of making us remember the good fondly while brushing over its shortcomings. The concept is simple. We go through the movie in a chronological order, and I take a look at what I find it does well, what I find it does poorly, while I propose alternative for what I think would solve my criticism. I will present my observations from the angle of the story they are trying to tell. My views will be both subjective and objective, depending on the element, and I'm curious to hear what you guys think, what you would propose as alternative for the points I bring up, or if you even agree with them in the first place. This video will only consider the information given in the movie itself and not rely on any external sources. If the answer to a concern is given through a book, an interview, or fandom, it won't be taken into consideration. The movie will be seen as a self-contained story. That being said, if a plot point carries over throughout the series, it will definitely be addressed. Even though the footage presented will all be from the re-release version, I'll be addressing the choices made in regards to those modified or added scenes. I will also bring forth the mention of some deleted scenes if I feel their inclusion would have benefited the overall narrative, and is obviously something that the makers thought of including at some point. I also want to emphasize, and I can't stress this enough, that I don't think I'm better than any of those people that worked on the project. It's meant as a fun exercise that hopefully will make us appreciate the movie even more. Making a piece of art that would forever transform the landscape of popular culture is certainly above my personal set of skills. I admire everyone's effort and dedication for bringing enjoyment into the lives of countless individuals over multiple generations. With all that out of the way, welcome to the first episode of The Good, The Bad, and The Could Be, where we're going to take a look at 1977's world-changing classic, Star Wars Episode 4 A New Hope. And if you've been living under a rock for the last 40 years, spoilers ahead. The movie starts with what is now one of the most iconic movie openings of all time. Although I'm of the opinion that a movie should abide by the rule of show don't tell, it works extremely well in this case for world building. In but a few seconds, it tells the audience so many crucial elements as to what is about to unravel. It not only let us know that this story will not be from our world, it also presents the story as a fraction of a bigger one, and this will be the fourth installment of the saga. Amazing. The combination of John Williams' powerful score with the scrolling of text grabs the viewer's attention immediately and encourages the audience to pay attention to be on par with the story that's about to unfold. It contextualizes the setting, and it drops the exposition up front while keeping us engaged. Something epic is presented. A group of rebels are trying to break down an empire on a galactic scale. The only nitpick I would have with the text is the mention of the word evil when describing the empire. This would better fit the show don't tell rule. Don't tell us why the empire is evil, show us why the empire is evil, so that us, the viewers, can empathize with what the rebels are fighting against. For all we know, the rebels could be the evil faction. It sets our position on the characters before the movie even started. We are told who to root for as opposed to do so because we relate to what happens during the movie. The reason for the conflict seems to be the freedom of the people. It should show us some of that oppression. The first proper scene of the movie is just gorgeous, showing the progressive reveal of the Star Destroyer as it appears into our view, seemingly unending, is just wonderful. It completely dwarfs the other ship in comparison, and we know that this will not be an even fight. It then shows the rebel prepping as they can to be boarded as the stormtroopers make their way inside the ship. The firefight ensues and the rebels get completely overtaken. It establishes the stormtroopers as a force to be reckoned with. Fearless adept marksmen presenting a real threat to the rebels. At least for now. However, Buddy lays dead on both sides, showing us that they are far from invulnerable. This fight isn't fully one-sided. We see Leia giving the plans the Empire is looking for to R2 and Vader indicating that he wants the passengers alive.
I want them alive!
He's shown as very powerful and intimidating. It presents us with our main antagonist and his motivations, acquiring the stolen plans and finding the rebel secret base. We are also introduced to some of our main cast of heroes. The R2-D2 is shown as a fearless droid with a mission he's willing to see through, and C-3PO as the skeptical sidekick that, by his skepticism and translation of R2 and others, serve to drop exposition. That is just fun storytelling. Leia is presented as a fighter with a sharp tongue, fully able to handle herself. She's fearless in front of the troopers and fearless in front of Vader. She mentions being on a diplomatic mission, and an Empire officer indicates concern that this might bring sympathy to the rebellion. Other forces are at play, and this contributes to the world building. The only issue I have with this opening is the introduction of a technology that can detect life force. Here it's used to save our heroes because they are droids and not human. This is fine. But later on, when that technology could be used as an obstacle for our heroes, it seemed forgotten or modified. Since the objective of the scene is simply to permit the droids to escape with the plans, an alternative could have been to have R2 release all the escape capsules at once, sending them to different locations. This would make it more realistic as to why the Empire are not finding the droids immediately upon them landing on the planet, as the search parties would be divided among all the capsules. It could have been presented by R2 as C-3PO expresses concern of what will happen to the others on board if all the pods are launched together, revealing to him that it was Leia who proposed this to make sure that they succeed in their escape. This would not only help with the plot hole later in the movie by never introducing the technology, but it further develops Leia as a capable tactician in the face of danger, which coincides with her character growth into a military general. It also solidifies her position as a rebellion leader. We then follow the two droids in the desert, leaving the escape pod behind. C-3PO refers to past adventures, further emphasizing that those two are friends, but also that this chapter is part of a bigger story. They also show C-3PO talking about suffering and speaking to himself when alone, presenting us that in this universe droids have a conscience and personality and that they are full characters. More world building through the story. We see C-3PO waving at a transport to be safe and then follow R2 exploring his rocky path. We are introduced to Jawas, and we see R2 being snatched and have a module installed on him before being brought into the same transport as C-3PO. It briefly cuts to the stormtroopers, realizing that the droids were in the capsule and they are in pursuit. Now my next point is definitely a nitpick, but I can't understand why the stormtroopers are shown riding the lizard creatures. Fortunately, their inclusion doesn't affect the story, but I can't find an angle from which their presence is justified. Were the beasts kept aboard the Star Destroyers? Most likely not. Would the Empire keep transport beasts from each planet just in case they might land on them? Again, probably not. Maybe the beasts were in the wild and they started domesticating them before pursuing the droids? Or did the stormtroopers went to a local settlement to purchase them before pursuing the heroes? The lizards are not shown to provide any advantages, and this is made all the worse by being shown a flight ship in the background. They have access to a flying vehicle. It feels as though they were added to look cool, but it comes at the cost of the world building. The more of these random inclusions appear in a movie, and the less grounded the world feels. It's easier for the viewer to feel disengaged. Having the stormtroopers using a technology-based transportation would make more sense for a military group. If you really want to have the creatures present, mention an advantage they are providing that raises the stake for our heroes and build tension for the audience. Can they track better, navigate better? Even a throwaway line such as, "Those tracks are fresh, they can't be more than an hour distance on Lizard's back." Just something to ground them in the story the movie is telling.